This week, our Torah portion, or Parasha, is from Genesis 37:1 through Genesis 40:23. It is called Vayeshev in Hebrew, which means "and he settled." Out of the 12 sons born to Jacob by Rachel, Leah, and their maidservants, Joseph was the first out of the only two born to Rachel, Jacob's true love. Joseph had a special place in Jacob's eyes, and being dad's favorite had its perks. Like the time Jacob gave Joseph a royal-esque colorful coat, fit for a prince. Joseph was living the good life in his elevated status, but his brothers weren't so keen. Whether he was naive or a brat is up for debate, but either way, Joseph made matters worse when he shared with his family a couple of interesting dreams he had. In one dream, all the brothers were binding sheaves in the field, and while Joseph's sheaf remained standing, all of his brothers' sheaves bowed down to him. And then in the second dream, the sun and moon and 11 stars were all bowing down to him. Joseph was basically like, "Hey bros, FYI, I'm going to rule over you." His brothers had it with their prized brother. So they planned to kill him. But thankfully, they ended up selling him off as a slave to passing Midianite traders. They tricked their dad into believing a wild animal had killed him. While meantime, the Midianites sold him in Egypt. Joseph went from being his father's beloved son to becoming a victim of human trafficking. But while Joseph was in forced slave labor, the Tanakh says that God was with Joseph and gave him incredible favor in Potiphar's sight. Apparently, Joseph also had favor in the looks department, and his boss wife wanted to know him in the biblical sense. She incessantly slid into his DMs, but Joseph refused and held his integrity, and when he ran from her advances, she used it against him, falsely accusing him of attempting to assault her. First a victim of human trafficking, now a victim of wrongful imprisonment. And this was no Camp Cupcake. But we read once again that even in the pit of prison, the Lord was with Joseph. Joseph was not alone, and God gave him favor with the warden. After as many as 12 years of imprisonment, Joseph would eventually become the second in command to Pharaoh and have some pretty epic life moments. In the journey to the peaks, he was no stranger to the valleys, but we are reminded in Joseph's story that no matter where he was, God was with him and led him through. With God, we are never alone. Psalm 139 reminds us, "Where shall I go from your spirit? Or shall I flee from your presence? Even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me." So no matter how low the low, or how dark the valley may be, God is near. We can take heart and know, Emmanuel, God with us.